Yo, what's up? My name is DJ Willingham and I am a real estate investor and obviously a sneaker lover. But my goal in today's video is to give you guys the full blueprint on all the action items that you need to take along the process to make sure that you're able to set yourself up for success when it comes to investing into real estate and putting yourself in a better place in life. You can actually take these things that I'm going to show you in today's video and start doing them today. I know sometimes things can get very overwhelming, especially when it comes to making a huge investment like this in life. So hopefully I can simplify this process as best as possible for you guys and help you save a little bit of time from all the mistakes I may have made over the years. So when we talk about investing into real estate, I'm not talking about wholesaling or fixing flips and trying to do these different things and working through all these loopholes. I'm talking about legitimately purchasing a home, having ownership of that home, renting that home out, cash flowing on it, or covering the mortgage costs and eventually paying all the bills, which we'll get into in a little bit. But basically the goal is to actually own the property and have more properties over time and then eventually become financially free. And 9 times out of 10, the majority of the people that are very successful in the real estate space typically have properties that they rent out and they have tenants and they cover the cost for them, which I'm sure most of you guys understand that. But now you guys are probably wondering, how do you get started? So let's go ahead and get started with step number 1, and that's going to be working on your credit score. I think that's going to be a very important thing, something that I personally am not a huge fan of when it comes to the whole thing, because I understand, like, if I can pay a bill, I can pay a bill, but if it doesn't say that on the paper and they're in the system and what they want, then eventually they're just not going to let you get what you want. There's going to be a bunch of different factors that go along with your credit score when it comes to how your score moves and all those different things, but I'm pretty sure if you guys understand the basics of paying down your cards, not having high debts and bad debts on different cards that you know you shouldn't have, I think you kind of get the gist of that, and that'll definitely help increase your score. Now, why is having a high score important? The reason why you want to have a higher score is the lower interest rate will be. So basically, when you go to a lender and they say, hey, what's your credit score, and they check out all your financials and do all your stuff, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, hey, all right, if you're a 720, you're going to get this percent rate. All right, well, if you're a 740 or a 760, you're going to get this percent rate, and it's going to be a lot lower on the rate. So why does that matter? When you look at the rates, it actually plays a huge factor on how much money you pay on your monthly payment and over time for the 30 years of the mortgage. So for example, if somebody were to have a home and they were able to get an interest rate for 5% and the other person got the interest rate for 6%, they're gonna drastically pay a lot more money over the 30 years plus every single month when they have to pay their mortgage. So I know it may not seem like a lot, but trust me when I tell you, as you increase your credit score, the banks are gonna want to lend you more money, give you better rates, and overall just take care of you more often than you would think. Now, some people say, well, yes, you can still get a house with a bad credit score, and yes, you probably could, but at the same time, they're not going to probably lend you nearly as much money because they're not going to think that you can pay it off, or they're going to give you a very high interest rate, sometimes even double or triple what you typically see on other things. So those are huge factors, and like I said, that will then make you have to pay more money. So you could potentially have a higher rate with a cheaper home, and somebody else could have a more expensive home with a lower rate, and you guys could be paying the same exact value on your monthly payment, but the person with the better score has a bigger house, the nicer things that they want, and they're paying the same exact amount of money. So hopefully those are a couple of different ways of giving you guys perspectives on why it is important and something you should definitely take care of, because I didn't care as much when I first started either, and then I started to realize, like, wow, this does play a huge factor on the long-term game. I know we're always looking at the short-term stuff, but this definitely does play a big factor, because that could also increase your cash flow as well if you have a lower monthly payment by having a better score and a lower interest rate. Now, when it comes to actual money and things that you're going to do, step number 2 is going to be how you save your money and what you do with it. Typically, when you're buying your first house, they do have programs where you can do the 0 down, but you're still going to have to pay some type of money, whether it may be earnest money or closing costs or something like that. There's always some type of thing that's going on where you got to pay some money. Even if you got a really good loan and it's a very, very special, unique situation, I understand there are all those things and you got those unicorn situations, but 9 times out of 10, the majority of people out there in this world, and a lot of us that fall into this category, you're going to typically have to pay 5 to 20% on your down payment when it comes to buying your first home. So now there's going to be other factors as well when it comes to why you're saving the money and how much money you need to save based on what you want to purchase. So typically when it comes to getting loans, they're going to look at how much is your down payment going to be, what is the property value that you're looking to purchase something at, what is your income, and what is your credit score. And we'll talk about taxes and monthly incomes and everything like that in a second, but basically those are going to be some of the main things that you want to look at. So if you think that you have a problem with saving money and you have things to figure out, that's going to be something that you need to worry about, whether it may be actually saving money and not spending on things that you don't need to be spending money on, or increasing your income, you know, getting a side hustle, flipping kicks, whatever it may be, and finding a way to increase your monthly income, because at some point you're gonna have to save some money, you're gonna have to get it together, and it's up to you to decide when you want to buckle down and take care of things to put yourself in that next position to take that big step forward. And again, I understand that everybody is coming from so many different realms of life, lifestyles, situations, areas, everything. I completely understand that there's going to be a huge amount of, you know, just different perspectives watching this video. So hopefully you guys can understand that I'm just trying to help you guys as well. And I'm telling you right now, at the end of the day, you're going to either save more money and not spend on things that you don't need to spend on, or just simply make more money. So now that we went over that, we got to talk about step number 3, and that's actually showing your income once you've started doing those things. So typically when it comes to getting a loan, the lenders are going to want to see your bank statements from 12 to 24 months. And the reason why they want to see that is to see how consistent your income is over the past couple years, because you're about to sign a contract for a 15 or a 30-year deal. So if you can't show consistency just for 2 years, how do you expect to pay 15 to 30 years worth of mortgage? So like we said earlier, we have established our income. We understand the past couple years are going to be key, and because of that, we're now able to put ourselves in the position to go apply for a loan. But that has a huge thing as well. If you have a year where you're expecting to make a lot more money in the following year, or you're in the middle of a year that you're going to make a lot more money, sometimes it's okay to wait for, you know, 6 or 7 months to put yourself in a better position based off of your taxes and everything like that, to then have an opportunity to get a larger loan later. So for me, that happened. I was writing off a lot of things. I didn't really realize it, and it had a huge impact on my income because I was writing so many things off for my business. Next thing you know, when I show my 2 years average, it wasn't really helping me out that much, especially because I was self-employed as well, and they want to see a lot more when you become a self-employed type of person. So that had a huge negative impact on me when I was originally trying to buy my first house back when I was 19, 20 years old. Now, I have never had a salary job before, but typically when you have a salary, that means that you're locked in for the type of income that you're going to have for the entire year. You know how much you're going to make, and sometimes you work too much, and sometimes you don't work enough and you still get paid. So there's always those factors staying along there, but at the end of the day, you know how much money you're going to be making. So when you show that salary or your bonus and everything that's going on, when you get that promotion at your job, that's locking it in, telling the bank, hey, this is how much money I'm going to be making for the year. So now it allows them to say, oh, cool, that's good. So now we can just lock that already in. Now you don't need to show as much when it comes to the paperwork on your previous income, because you're already guaranteed this money from the job that you have. So some people could say, yes, if you have a salary job, it does make it a little bit easier on that end when it comes to lending, because it's a lot more secure. But other people like to do it different ways. And me personally, again, I've never had a salary job before. I've always worked for myself. So I had to go a little bit different route when it comes to that end. Now, before we move to the next section, I also wanted to mention a little bit more about the taxes and the write-offs, like I said earlier. So basically what that means is you can have a business, you're going to be running it, and say you make 100 grand for the year, and then you write off a bunch of stuff for all your expenses, the things that you buy, and everybody, you know how they say it's a tax write-off, go on a trip, expense the whole thing, all that stuff. Well, that can, like I said earlier, hurt you later in the long run, because now if you write off $80,000 of the $100,000, and then now you got only $20,000 on the income, and then you're like trying to figure it out, and it's like, well, you barely even made any money, but really down, you know, you're like, well, I could have spent that money on something else. Or that's something that you need to figure out. And honestly, it's going to all come down to what the lender wants to see. So this is going to be something that's very, very important. Find a couple lenders, and when you do, get comfortable with them, talk to them, give them all your information, let them know where you stand, and before you file your taxes, talk to them about what they want to see on how many things you're writing off, and then you can understand sometimes you can actually write off more things, or sometimes you say, oh, I shouldn't be writing this much stuff off. I need to prepare myself for these taxes because I plan on getting a loan. Now, typically when people get into the flow and they already own a house, they just go along with it and they write a lot of things off for their taxes, and that completely makes sense as well, because they don't want to pay the money, but they don't have an intention of buying a second or third or fourth property. So for them, it doesn't really have a negative impact. But for somebody like us who wants to buy that first property and then buy that second property and the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one, and we really want to bubble up, those are going to all be very, very important things and stuff that we need to look at every single year when we're doing this type of stuff. Because as you start to grow exponentially, trust me, things are going to start bubbling, and you're going to be able to buy more than just one house in a single year. But again, that's some stuff that happens a little bit later in life. So let's keep on path for just buying our first house right now. So step number 4 is going to be getting pre-qualified. So what exactly does that mean? Basically, you have proven your income, you showed what you got, you show where everything stands, the bank understands what your income is and where you're projected to be and where you stand in life. So now they can say, hey, we get all this stuff and now you're pre-qualified for X amount of dollars. So you may be pre-qualified for 300,000, 500,000, 200,000, 100,000, a million, 5 million, who knows? Depends on your income and all the assets and everything that you have and your debts and everything like that. But at the end of the day, this is going to be the next step of the process, and that's getting pre-qualified. So one thing, like I said, that happened to me when I was younger, when I was 19, I went to go get pre-qualified and they said, hey, we'll give you $120,000. And I said, what am I supposed to buy with $120,000? It doesn't work. They said, well, you write so much stuff off, it doesn't really work. This is all that we can give you. They said, come back in a year, increase your income, don't write as much stuff off, and maybe we can consider something different. So I did that. I trusted the process. Next thing you know, I come back and they're like, we'll give you $350,000. Now I was able to purchase a property. Obviously, this was a long time ago, so houses were cheaper, but they were like, you can get $350,000, now you can do your thing. So like I said earlier, taxes, all those things do play a factor, but that pre-qualification and understanding where you stand with the banks is going to definitely play a huge factor, because sometimes, yes, you may have to wait for another year to put yourself in a better position, and sometimes you might just be qualified where you're at, where you stand, and you're like, cool, we can go buy a house tomorrow. Now when it comes to this, and the reason why I think you should get pre-qualified before you start looking for homes is because they're going to tell you how much you can have, and they're the ones that's giving you the money. So if you go out and you're looking online and you're like, oh, I want this $800,000 home, and they're like, well, this doesn't really meet your budget, all we can give you is $500,000. Now you're going to be upset because you were looking at all these houses and you feel like it just didn't meet the requirements of what you wanted. So now when you look at those houses in the $500,000 range, you're going to be like, bro, I don't like none of these, they're not as good, they don't equate to that other one. And it's like, realistically, that one was always out of your budget. And that's not a problem, but it's just, it was always out of your budget in the moment where you stand in life. So now you're comparing it to something that you wasn't even going to get anyways. So it's either like, yeah, save up for that and do all that stuff, or buy the house, let the equity grow, sell it, or, you know, rent it out, refi, and then buy the next one, which again, whole nother topic. We'll talk about that later. But yes, don't go and look at all these houses thinking you know your price range and all your budget until you actually talk to lenders and understand where you stand, because trust me, it could be very, very disheartening, or whatever words you want to use, but definitely understand where the lenders stand, and then you can start hitting the market, finding agents and going out and looking and doing house tours and everything like that. So before we get into step number 5, we also have to mention there's a couple things when it comes to this whole process of getting pre-qualified that I didn't mention earlier, and that is you need to shop around your pre-qualification. So basically, once you get pre-qualified from one bank, you want to take that information and say, hey, go to the next bank and be like, yo, what can you guys do? Can you beat this? Or are they the better deal? And then the bank is going to be like, oh man, they're giving a good offer, I don't know, we might not be able to do that. Or they're going to say, oh yeah, we can beat that, we want your money instead. Because every bank is going to be competing for each other to get your money as well, to work these deals, so that way they can make their bread. So that's always something to think about. Don't just take the first option. Definitely shop it around, see what you can find, try to find some different banks and make them compete against each other. Now, I know a lot of people talk about the credit pools and how that can negatively affect your credit score. Now, for me personally, I think if they're doing a credit pool, doesn't really matter, because they're going to be ones that's giving you the loan. So at the end of the day, if they're fine with that and it takes your points down by 1 point or something like that, at the end of the day, to me, who cares? But a lot of people, they be tripping about it, and there might be reasoning for it. Again, everybody has their different mindsets and methodologies behind all this stuff. I'm just sharing my experiences on how I feel about the situation. Now, when it comes to getting multiple pre-approvals, now this is the thing. So they're like, well, if you get 10 pre-approvals, that's going to take your score down by 10 different points, or however many points it is for a credit pool every single time. But one thing that most people don't know is when you do all these credit pools at the same time for a home loan, they actually put it all in as the same inquiry on your credit report if it's all done within like a 30-day period. So basically, the lenders and the credit companies and all those different things, they're incentivizing you to go out and shop around and make these things happen to put yourself in a better position to now be able to potentially get more money on your loan or have a lower interest rate, or let them compete against each other. So definitely take that to your advantage, and don't be scared of the credit pools that everybody talks about, because it can actually help you and save you a lot. I'm talking about thousands, tens of thousands of of dollars because of that competition that you're creating amongst the banks. So now that you got an understanding of that, you've gotten pre-approved, we're on to step number 5, and it is time to figure out where you're gonna buy a house and doing your research. So I think first things first, there's always gonna be that emotional attachment for people that wanna buy a home. They have their dream home of living in this specific area and all these different things, but sometimes it's not always wise to do that, because now you could potentially not make as much money when it comes to equity and still be able to live in a safe, nice neighborhood in a different location that has the opportunity to rise in value more and faster and give you more opportunities later in life. So there's a lot of different things to think about when it comes to that, and it's just understanding the whole market, not just going out and looking at homes in a specific neighborhood or whatever it may be. Understanding what is being built. Is there a New Seasons? Is there a Whole Foods? Is something going in? Are they putting hotels? Are they doing more of this? Are they adding an arena? What's happening in the areas and what's going on in the city to understand, is this a college campus area? Can we put houses over here, move in, and then rent them out later? Having a different strategy and not thinking of, that's just kind of how I feel. They're not thinking of the first home as your only home. I think typically when it comes to people that really want to be investing into real estate, they're going to move around. They're not going to just have their first home as their only home. This isn't their dream home, but they know it's another stepping stone along the way of the process of getting their foot in the door, owning that property, and then making moves for themselves later in life. So you have to think about that. Where is the property going to increase? What are the best areas? And then on the outskirts of those areas as well, because just outside of those could be a 5-minute drive, a 7-minute drive, a 10-minute drive that could change drastically in the price, but there's going to be huge development over the next 10 years. Next thing you know, the price goes up and you're sitting in the perfect spot that everybody wished that they purchased their house in 10 years ago. So again, there's a lot to think about, but the best thing that you can do is go around and understand all the areas of the cities, the outskirts, the stores, all the stuff that's going on, and really having a better understanding of the city that you're investing into, not just the neighborhood, not just the block, but literally everything around it, because all those things drive a huge factor in what's going to happen to the appreciation or depreciation of your property over time. You want to go to as many open houses as you possibly can get to. You need to understand the market. You need to understand what are the finishes like, what is the location like, what are the exterior things that's going on with the home, and how do they value it, and why are they pricing it at this price. And then you start comparing it, which we call comps, right? Well, this sold as this and that's that, so this is the reason why it's valued as that. Just like if it were for sneakers, well, if these Jordan 1s were that and these Jordan 1s were that, I can understand why they're the same price because of these rarity reasons or whatever it may be. So when I think of that, it's the same thing as comps and real estate. You need to understand and just go and peer and see and look at all, not just the oohs and ahs and, oh, that kitchen looks nice, the bathroom looks nice, or that's terrible. Why is it priced at those things? Look at all the little details and the nooks and crannies of the home when it comes to the trim, the flooring. What type of flooring is it? What type of paint is it? Does it need to be redone? What is the heating and cooling system like in the home? Think about all the other factors of the home that causes it to have that type of value in that asking price of the home. And trust me when I tell you, when you start really diving deeper into these homes as you go and inspect them, you're going to know a lot more about homes compared from your first house visit to your 20th and your 20th to your 100th or your 50th or whatever. You're going to have so much more knowledge about just homes and how to look at them and how you view them, and just, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully that kind of helps you get the perspective of like, look at more homes. The more experience that you have, the better position you'll be in to actually understand like, this is a good house. This is a good value. This house has good bones. This has good neighborhood. This has good things. And you can really understand why there's maybe potentially an undervalued home, and then that's when you know this is the time to strike. This is the house that I want. So now that brings into step number 6 of actually making the offer on the home. I have an agent which is a longtime friend of mine that I've grown up with, and I always want to make sure that he gets the commissions because it only makes sense. Why would I let some other agent go out there and take care of it when I know that I got people around me in my circle that definitely got my back? Now, I'm not saying that works for everybody. I'm in a fortunate situation because I have a few homies that are, honestly, man, I got a lot of homies that are really good real estate agents, so I actually take that back. I'm in a very, very fortunate situation, and I completely understand that. Now, finding a good agent, that is going to be something that's key as well. Think about how well that agent is. Are they tentative to you? Do they care about replying to you at a decent time? What is their schedule like? How often are they available? Have you heard any referrals from other people? How do you feel about them? Have you seen reviews online? Do you like the agency? Do you like everything that's going along with the character of the person? Do you think they're trying to get over on you? Do you think they're trying to just make some money? Or do you think they're actually trying to help you make a good, smart investment and actually put yourself in a better place in life? Because some agents, they just trying to make their bread, get their commission, and be out and be done with you. So think about all those things as well. Just like you go deep into the details when it comes to looking at the homes, think about that when it comes to the agent process as well. And sometimes they have people that have agents that will represent for the homes, and you may like them when you go on a house tour, and you might really vibe with them and connect with them, and that might be an opportunity for you to say, hey, check out this agent. Cool. Oh, well, you like these things. Well, you like the house that you're at now. Well, guess what? We got 10 other houses that are just like it in the neighborhood next door. You can also go check those out if you like. We can show them to you whenever you want. Now you're like, all right, now I'm kind of getting tapped in. So just like you would be networking and all those different things, those are a lot of things to think about as well when it comes to finding the agent and putting that offer in and understanding where you're at, because you want to use that same agent in the future, right? We're not trying to buy one home. We're not trying to buy 2 homes, 3 homes, 4. Like, we're trying to have a whole portfolio. We're trying to boss up and level up. So we need people on our team in this process. We need good lenders. We need good agents. We need good contractors. We need good, you know what I'm saying? We need all those good key essentials when it comes to this whole process. So definitely something to think about. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent on that topic, but definitely always make sure that your agent has really good intentions for you and they want to see you grow and know that this isn't just your final home. You're trying to bubble up after this. So now that you know that you got a good agent on your side and you're confident in them, you're ready to put an offer on it on home. And trust me when I tell you right now, everything ain't about to be all peaches and rainbows and glittery and sunshine. You're gonna put a lot of offers in on homes and they're not gonna get accepted, and that's okay. Now, don't get in a huge bidding war either, because sometimes you can fall into that trap. There's plenty more houses out there. More houses are coming on the market. You're going to find more that's going to pop up. You're going to keep seeing more that's popping up as you're looking at houses every single week and realizing like, oh, they always put new listings up on Fridays and Thursdays, and then they have the open houses on the weekends, and they're trying to close the deals and have the offers get accepted on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then you realize it's a repeating cycle every single week. There's more houses going to come. So something to think about, but don't get caught in that bidding war. It's just the same thing. Like, I know everybody's not sneakerheads over here, but for me, it's the same thing, right? There's more shoes out there. If I don't get them this time, I'll get another pair. Everything's going to be fine. So always think about that. And low key, put lowball offers in. Be willing to underpay, because sometimes people might accept them. And you also may be even able to finesse some credits from your buyers to actually decrease your price as well, to get some things fixed, and then you can take care of it or they can take care of it, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video in the next section. But basically, be patient. Understand that you're looking for a home that needs a little bit of loving. You want to have an opportunity to create some equity in it. You want to find some flaws in that property and some things that you know that you can fix cosmetically, not like crazy structural issues, but just the cosmetic, you know, oh, we can fix the paint, we can change those knobs, we can fix the door handles and switch up a couple things, switch some light fixtures and add some more lighting outside, maybe spend a couple grand or maybe 10,000 or 5,000 and have a huge visually impacting difference on the home, which will then cause the value to increase, your lifestyle in the home while you live there to be fun and more energetic or more inspiring or whatever it is that you need for yourself. And then knowing that you're setting it up for the higher value home to now be rented at more money because you did those small upgrades on the home and added the new lights fixtures and the smart switches and all the little things with the, you know, automatic lights when you walk into the hallway. It's not too expensive, but it is a huge impact on living life, enjoying it, making things simple, and making it easier for you to then upscale when it comes to the pricing of rent on that property. And also, a lot of people will say, well, the price wasn't right, I didn't get it, and they're trying to find the perfect property at the perfect price. Trust me when I tell you this as well. You're not going to find the perfect property. Even when you build your own property and you got the perfect property, life changes, things happens. Next thing you know, it's not the perfect property anymore. You may be sacrificing location or the yard or the driveway or the garage or the kitchen or this or that. Something is always has to be sacrificed. So you're not going to get the perfect property. It is what it is. Understand what you want, what you need for your lifestyle, and what you're willing to sacrifice, because that's also going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to the purchasing process. Because if you're out there looking for that perfect property and you thought you was on that $800,000 budget and you was on the $500,000 budget, now you're like overthinking everything and you're like, I can't get this, I don't want that. Well, next thing you know, you're just going to keep missing out. And I think personally, you should just buy when you're ready. Once you buy, play the long game. We're not worried about, oh, I spent 10 or 15 or 20 or $50,000 extra right now. Well, it's okay, because I was in a situation when I got my house, they wanted $285 for the property. My down payment was $15,000, and I was like, you know what? How about this? I'll give you $300,000 for it. Put my down payment on that. Take the $285 loan. Set the tone for the neighborhood. Next thing you know, the house is now setting that tone and causing all the other homes to sell. So because my house wasn't the worst on the block or the best on the block, and I knew it needed some cosmetic things, I was able to set that tone in my neighborhood and then do what? Now have all the other houses increase their equities naturally because I set that new comp for the neighborhood. So because of that, I was actually able to play it in my favor by overpaying for my house, and then that immediately increased the value of my home, which originally was priced at $285 to $340. So some people may say overpaying isn't good and all the different stuff. If you do it strategically in the right spot and make the right moves, and you pay the extra 15 or 10 or 5 or 7 or $20,000, whatever it may be, it could drastically increase your equity in the long haul. And we always got to remember, we're playing the long game. So enough with that. I know we've been talking a lot. Let's take it to step number 7. We got a few more steps to go, because every single thing in this video is very, very important. I hope you guys are taking notes, pausing if you need to, going back if you need to, whatever it may be. I hope this video is helpful. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm excited to have all you guys on in here on the channel and share more videos and everything like that with you guys. So let's take it to step number 7, and that is actually getting your offer accepted on the house that you wanted to buy. You're gonna have to put your earnest money down, and then you're gonna have to put the money down for your down payment and all that stuff, but we gotta make sure that we focus on inspections. Pay extra money on inspections if you need to, but trust me, it's going to be worth it, because it's going to give you an inside out, in-depth, everything you need to know about your property. The foundation, the lighting, the walls, the leaks, the this, the that, all those things are going to be on a full print for you and let you see everything that you need to know. And once you have that full inspection report, there might be some things that potentially make somebody have to back out the deal, because I've had that happen before. Or there's going to be opportunities, like I said before, to get credits, because they could say, oh, well, the whole deck is rotting out. We didn't know that was happening. We need to repair that. That's not going to be safe. That's something that needs to be done. And then you talk to the sellers and say, hey, the deck is going to cost this much because I brought my contractors in and they told me this is how much it's going to be. And also on that, when it comes to contractors, don't just go with one. Go with multiple and kind of average out the price to see what the real bid is, because sometimes contractors will come in and they'll be like $30,000 for the deck, and the other one will be like, we'll do it for $7,000, and then the other one will be like, $12,000 is a realistic price. And then you'll kind of find that balance and that happy medium of realistic pricing, because contractors are definitely going to try to make as much money as possible, but at the same time, you got to realize, like, sometimes these contractors, again, are not the best. Just like you got your realtors, you want to make sure you got a good realtor, you want to make sure you got a good contractor, and you want to make sure once you got some good contractors under your belt and some people that you know through referrals or Yelp reviews or whatever it may be, that are there to be able to come and look at the property and say, okay, these are the things that are on our inspection report. This is what it's going to cost to fix all this stuff. What do you want to work on? How much is it going to be? And then you can talk to the sellers and say, all right, it's going to be an extra $15,000 to fix these things. And this stuff, it needs to be fixed. It's not because of my aesthetic and the things that I want, but actual safety and things of the home that we didn't know about. And then they can negotiate and say, okay, we're willing to give you, a $10,000 credit, or yes, we will cover that cost, and or we'll have it fixed for you before you move in. There's a lot of different things that you can negotiate within that contract as well during that closing process. So think about that and be strong with it. Understand where you stand and where you're going to be with that property and what you want out of it when it comes to buying from the seller. And don't be all scared and be like, oh, it's my first property, maybe I shouldn't ask for that, or I shouldn't ask for the appliances, for them to throw in the washer and dryer and the fridge and the stove and everything, because that's another $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 just right there for those things that you will need for your kitchen and your appliances. Sometimes the seller will be like, you know what, we'll throw it in for you. We're doing a great deal. We're excited to do the deal with you. Great, no problem. And prime example, I've done that before. They've thrown in all the appliances and all I had to do was just move in the house and everything was ready to go. So now that you've done all that, you understand the property, you put your offer in, everything is ready to go. Now the bank is going to do their appraisal process and they're going to go through and make sure that the property is actually valued at what it was supposed to be sold at, because there's a lot of different weird stuff that goes on in that process, and sometimes people do some shady things on the back end. So the bank needs to also look at, say, hey, are we willing to put our money into this, because you got to pay the bank back the money, right? They have to come in, look at the property, make sure everything's okay. They're going to get that approval, and typically the process is going to take you from anywhere from 30 to 60 days, 30 to 45 days. Everybody always tries to say we close as fast as possible. And my first lender on my first home, he was talking that good game, and then next thing you know, he was taking forever during the closing process. And I'm like, bro, how is it that I'm getting in everything on time and I'm meeting my deadlines and you're not? So that was something, again, finding the good lenders, doing the right things that you need, and finding the right people. So again, take care of that, think about that, understand that through the referrals of other lenders and things like that as well, because you could then go from a 30 days closing to 45 days and you're like, bro, I was supposed to move out of my apartment 2 weeks ago, now I got to extend my lease and all this other stuff's going on. You're trying to figure out where to move and navigate, and you're trying to figure out that whole process. So again, that's a lot of things that are playing factors in the process of closing. So make sure you're taking care of that type of stuff and understanding what you're going to be your meantime thing during the closing process, because soon as your offer gets accepted does not mean that you get to move in on that day. You still got to wait for the whole closing process and then you get the keys. So step number 9 is one of my favorite steps, because not only is it my favorite number, but I think this is one of the parts where you're really able to take your game to the next level. And that is going to be just simply making those changes on the property once you have moved in. So like I said, if you can change some things by painting and switching the walls and adding some new flooring, or doing some fixtures, or adding new handles, or repainting the cabinet, whatever it may be to make the house look more aesthetically pleasing and increase the property value and the equity of the home. I guess the equity of the home, the property value kind of naturally fluctuates based off of everything. Either way, you kind of get what I'm saying. As you put more elbow grease and more effort into the property after you own it and you now build your equity, just know whatever dollar you put in, you're going to get it back, and probably times 2 or 3 based off of what you put in. I know a lot of people, they're always like, man, I got to put all this money out. But think about it. You're putting the money out for yourself. You're putting the money out for your future. You're putting the money out to put yourself in a better situation. So I know people are like, I had to spend money on this fence. I had to spend money on this thing and that. And I'm like, bro, you're going to get it all back. You're going to get it all back times 2, times 3, times 5, whatever it may be, however long the horizon is. But it's all going to come back. So don't worry about it. Continue to... and hold on, let me take that back too. I got to think about it, because some people overdo it. Sometimes if you overdo it on a property that isn't worth that, don't do too much, because you can easily get into the process of doing too much to a property and then it becomes not worth it anymore. So understand the threshold of like, make some minor changes, make some small upgrades, and slightly increase the value of the home. Maybe put $5,000 or $10,000 into the property, but that could potentially change the value of the property by $30,000 or $40,000 because of it. And also, besides from that, you want to make sure that you have your fund, because basically that's just going to be like, you know, we all have had it. Through my houses, I've had, you know, the water heater goes bad and this needs to be fixed, or the AC unit needs to be fixed, or, you know, this, that, the other, you name it, the furnace, the light, the whatever, this, that, you know what I'm saying? It's just all those little things that may be happening. Oh, there's a random leak in the bathroom, different stuff like that. So if you have that emergency fund for the property, for every single property, it makes it a lot easier and smooth to just be like, you know what, cool, oh yeah, that needs to be fixed, great, let's go replace the toilet, couple $100, no problem, we got it. Compared to being like, toilet's broken, what are we gonna do, we could all use the other bathroom, and we gotta wait to get this one fixed. Like, nah, it's, you know, we got the money reserved, it's for that reason. You know, if it's whatever you decide it to may be, whether it's, you know, $2,000 or $10,000, whatever type of home you get, but just having that extra bread on the side, giving you that security and understanding, will make it a lot more comfortable and soothing for you to live in the property. Understand that yes, things are going to get broken, things are going to need to be fixed. It's a part of living in anywhere if you have tenants or whatever. So just thinking about all that stuff and preparing yourself and having that little blanket for yourself to be a little bit more at ease when it comes to your mind. All right, so last but not least, step number 10 is going to be setting yourself up to now move out of the property, buy another property, or buy another property to rent out. And at the end of the day, the goal is to find a tenant, because as you live in this property and move to the next one, you're going to want to rent out the first property when you move to the second one. And when you move to the second one, you're going to want to rent out the first and the second one when you move to the third one. So the goal is preparing yourself and understanding the rules and the regulations because I know a lot of people talk about Airbnb, and I do Airbnb, so I know a lot about Airbnb. I've been doing Airbnb for about 4 years now. It's been a little while, but understanding the regulations, the zoning, the different things that's going on when it comes to the permitting process of Airbnb in your city. And I should have said this earlier in the video, but if you plan to potentially move out of the property and make that an Airbnb later in life, understand that you need to know if that is even legally okay to have an Airbnb as a short-term rental in that location that you bought that first property in. So if you buy the property and then move out and then find out later that you can't do Airbnb there, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be like, bro, we need to sell this house, or we're gonna have to do a regular rental, and we're gonna have to not make as much money because of it, and you're gonna have to find alternate options. So understand that when you're looking for properties, look at that as well, because if that's a part of your plan, which I didn't know about, I didn't know or think about when I first bought my first property. It wasn't on my mind. It was something that just didn't even think about. But now in life, I'm like, great. Luckily, yes, the first property was able to be an Airbnb, which is very convenient. But at the same time, if it wasn't, I would have had to get a regular tenant in there, which isn't a problem. But I like Airbnb because it makes a lot more money and it's just very, very smooth and things are great with it. But again, just think about all those things and understand that you're preparing yourself for the bigger picture. You may be living in this house and it's going to be a stepping stone, and putting that plan together. As soon as that day you get your first key, how many years do I plan on living here? How am I going to bubble up to the next stage? What am I going to do to be great to then take myself to the next house, to the next property, to the next apartment complex, whatever it is that you're trying to get, duplex, triplex, all that stuff. I know everybody talk about buying multifamilies and all different stuff. So whatever that is, just understand all those things and always think about the big picture. Understand you're living in now, you're enjoying it, and you're blessed to be able to put yourself in that position and continue to work hard and be great. And I'm excited for all you guys. I hope this video was helpful. Yo, if you enjoyed this video, I have a free gift for you. I want to give you my ultimate Amazon Airbnb checklist, and this will give you everything that you need to know to take your Airbnb to the next level and especially be more profitable along the way. This will also help you get more 5-star ratings, which will then make you a super host, and eventually you'll be able to charge more money because of it. So to get access to my free Amazon Airbnb checklist, click on the first link down below in the description or the one pinned in the comment section, and I'll make sure I send you that checklist right away. All right, y'all.